This is Beer in Front, part of the Odd Pods Media Network. Sometimes the beer in front of you is the best one yet. I'll talk about some old school beers that maybe you've forgotten about, some new beers that have the potential to be a classic. I'll also talk to various people around the beer world and get their stories all about beer. That's Beer in Front, and it's coming up now. Welcome to the January 9th edition, episode 192 of Beer in Front. I'm your host, Dave Zalatoris, and Beer in Front is a proud Odd Pods Media Network member. On the podcast today, I'll talk with Karen Sheehan, who you may know as All the Beer, More Beer on social media. Karen is also a beer enthusiast advocate, and that was a good talk. I talked to her a couple of weeks ago before January, so I had a beer she mentioned from Pipeworks, and I'll talk about that later in the episode. There was a story so absurd last week that I'm bringing back the Jagoff of the week. 1 week only, but yes, we have a Jagoff this week. 1 week into dry January, and I'm still going strong. I'm recording this on Saturday the 6th, and I'm already down 4 pounds. I notice it in my face, where it's definitely not as puffy. My sleep is still jacked up, but that's because of my back. But overall, I'm glad I'm doing this. Ruby and I are going to go to a mocktail event this week. I think it's near me on Ravenswood, so I'll let you know all about that on the next podcast. If you'd like to support the show, head over to patreon.com/beerinfront and you can find out more details there. Also, don't forget to check out the rest of the social media feeds. You could follow me everywhere at Beer in Front. I put videos up on YouTube a couple times a week. So if you got some spare time, check out the rest of Beer in Front on social media. In beer news, Japanese brewing company Asahi, they're going to purchase Wisconsin-based Octopi Brewing. Octopi is one of the country's largest craft contract breweries. You find their stuff at Trader Joe's, Aldi, and they do contract brewing for a lot of breweries. This acquisition is going to allow Japan's most popular beer, Asahi Super Dry, that's going to now be brewed here in the States. Sunday, January 14th is Thank You for Smoking. This is a day-long celebration of smoked beer over at Dovetail. Now this, and I'm going to mispronounce this is Frühschoppen. This is going to be held in collaboration with Kaiser Tiger. This is an all-you-could-eat and drink event. Check out Dovetail's website for more details. The Craft Beer Marketing Awards, the Crushies, are open for submissions now. Head over to thecrushies.com for more details. Once again, I'm going to be one of the judges. This is a really cool award, and it's always great to see some fantastic artwork in the field of beer. 21st Amendment is coming out with Find Your Fortune. This is going to be a golden ale with toasted sesame and vanilla. And I guess on the can, it's going to have a QR code that you could scan for a virtual fortune cookie. Noon Whistle out of Lombard is going to start making pizza at their brew pub. They posted a picture on social media of this ginormous stand mixer, so that should be cool. Chicago Cider Week is coming up. That's going to start on January 28th and run to February 3rd. A lot of cool events all over the city. Check out ChicagoCiderWeek.org. And finally, Haymarket is they're going to be 13 years old on the 12th. So you could check out Haymarket if you want. They have a 4-pack. They're bringing back a couple of old school beers. So check out Haymarket and happy birthday.
Hey, this is Grab and Brisket Podcast. Join us every Monday where we talk about the latest trends in barbecue, interviews with world top pitmasters, celebrity cooks,
Ooh, like Wee Man from Jackass.
and musicians.
Like Rich O'Toole?
So check us out. We do beer reviews, barbecue fails.
So many fires.
Dude, a lot of people just burn their houses down for no reason.
We also talk about cocaine hippos versus meth gators,
Learn how to make some tailgate gravy.
altercations with Texas Rangers.
People throwing Reese's peanut butter cups.
Yeah, so check out grabthebrisket.com for podcast info, viral social media posts, and so much more.
All right, I'm happy to be talking to Karen Sheehan today. You may know her as All the Beer, More Beer on social media. Karen is a Chicago-based digital creator, and you could find her all over Chicagoland enjoying a great local brewery. Karen, thanks so much for talking today.
Thanks, Dave, for having me on the show. I really appreciate it.
Before we get started, can you tell people a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I grew up in the suburbs and I went to college at U of I. And when I got back, I've been living in Chicago, the city, ever since then. And I'm a teacher. I teach special ed on at a high school on the north side. And that's about it. I live in Portage Park, which is by Irving and Cicero.
Actually, I partially grew up in that area. My parents divorced, and my dad lived at Six Corners. So, yeah, I'm quite familiar with the area.
My parents, there used to be a giant Sears there, a flagship store, and that's where my parents met.
Oh, really? Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's
now,
fun.
God knows what they're putting up with it. I know, who was it? The graffiti artist, Mr. Fungi, must be upset that they took away his graffiti.
Yeah, I didn't know that was a thing until I saw it pop up in a number of places, and I was like, okay.
Yeah,
cool.
okay. I'm like, who knew there was a Mr. Fungi out there?
He's a fun guy.
Yes, fun guy. Do you remember the first craft beer you had where you said, oh, yeah, this is it. This is what I want to be doing?
Oh, that's a great question. No. And so this may lead into other questions, but I remember specifically trying a Sierra Nevada IPA and being like, just spitting it out, like being like, what is this? This tastes awful. What is that flavor? What is that taste? And that must have been in like the early 2000s. I was a Hackershore wheat girl. Like I wouldn't drink anything. If I went to drink beer, I would look on the menu to see what they had in a wheat, and that's what I would get.
Which was probably either, Hawker Shore or Blue Moon at that time, really.
Exactly. I remember drinking a lot of like 312 from Goose Island. I don't consider that craft beer, but that's probably like, I drank a lot of that back in the day.
Like now, this is going to come out in January. So now in 2024, do you have a go-to beer style?
Sure. I probably lean more toward hazies if that, if I'm just going to enjoy something, it's probably going to be a New England or, just something that they call hazy. But in the winter, it's stouts and porters. I'm really kind of getting into lagers now. So
yeah. Has that changed? It's like so much because you mentioned you started out with wheat. What other styles are you into?
Yeah, so I think my beer renaissance happened when I got together with my partner. We got together about 12 years ago, and at that time she was drinking shandies, like Line and Kugel Summer Shandy. That was the beer that she drank. Otherwise, she was like a Jack and Coke person. And we really liked cider, so we went to like Virtue Cider, which before it was bought by InBev, and we went to Vandermill in Grand Rapids, and we went to this little outfit in Burlington, Wisconsin called Apple True. And I think it was doing that process of just drinking a lot of cider and being able to kind of like, this tastes this way on my tongue. I'm getting flavors on the nose. I'm getting flavors on the front of the tongue and the back of the tongue, and just developing a palate that way. So I think that that kind of paved the way for me to just want to try everything. When I go out still, I will get a flight And generally I'll get the styles that I think are going to be palatable for me. But I will try anything, and 5 ounces of anything is golden.
Looking at your Instagram, I see you were at Point at one time. Did you try the Cider Boy stuff there?
So that was many years ago. I have tried Cider Boys, but I don't recall specifically at Point.
Okay.
But at the time we were up there, I was really into Oso Brewing had this. Yeah. So really we went to Point to it, to the end was Oso. And there is us, and we have, there's a picture on the Instagram, and it's us, and we have like 24 beers in front of us, because that's like we tried every single one of them.
Yeah, Oso's a great spot, and like I thought the food there was phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean we're going years back now, and we went to Point because we were traveling to like northern Wisconsin, but like we make it a point now to, if we hear of a brewery, then we will make our way there. I feel like we've done a pretty good job throughout the Midwest.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what I had at Oso, but it was one of probably the best meals I've had at a brewery. And I wasn't expecting much. Usually you go to a brewery and it's like, all right, you're going to have bar food or, what have you. But I had something, I think it was like a beer braised pork chop or something like that, that was absolutely phenomenal. But yeah, Oso's a great spot.
Yeah, I haven't been there in many years, and I don't know if we ate there.
Well, next time you go, you're going to have to grab the pork chop.
If I'm ever up that way again, it's kind of out of the way.
How has the beer scene changed in the time that you've been a part of it?
It's just the sheer volume it's intense. There's so many breweries everywhere you go. And recently I got my hands on the latest Illinois Brewing magazine from the fall, and they do a lovely job of like categorizing all the beer by location in the Chicago area, and they list just every brewery. And I was going through and I'm like, okay, I'm going to mark the ones that I haven't been to, and there are very few in Chicago, but there are so many in the suburbs. And I think that expansion in the burbs has really been something that's really changed. It's just like you can't even keep up. No. Back in the day, you could go to your 5 breweries and be like, all right, I've and one of the things that I really used to love about the past is that you just got to know those breweries so well. Like you knew all of their flagship beers, you knew all of the beers. When you went there and you tried something new, you remembered it, and you were like, oh yeah, let's go back, let's try that again. And now it's like, unless a brewery is doing something incredibly special, it's hard to even keep track. I mean, that's just basically what I do. That's my purpose in this game, is to just keep track of the beer. But it's really hard. Like I'm going through here and I'm like, A, I haven't been to any of these breweries, and B, I've been to some of these breweries and I can't remember anything, off the top of my head about them.
Yeah, there's just so many. It's like practically every neighborhood now has their own local brewery, and every suburb, like you mentioned. I know last week I had to go to Naperville, and it's like, look at all these. I'm looking at Google when I'm there, like breweries near me. I'm like, yeah, it's a lot.
And it used to be Solemn Oath, and it was like, all right, I'm going to Solemn Oath. And now it's like, you go to, and they're just further and further away, like Batavia. That is a drive, man.
Yeah.
Like I really like to go out there and drink all the beer, but then
you have to drive home. Yeah.
Exactly. You're kind of stuck with like going to maybe your top 3.
Do you feel breweries, tap rooms, are they more welcoming now towards women and people of color from like the time you first started going to breweries?
Yeah, 100%. I think that I don't really notice in terms of like, well, I'm a woman and therefore I'm different. But I notice I'm also queer. My partner is a woman, so I noticed that there's definitely more breweries that have like a flag sticker, like a pride flag sticker, like the progressive flag sticker in it. That really warms my heart. I think that as a woman, I still I really like to talk about beer. So if I'm at a brewery and I try to chat up the people behind the bar, like they're super willing to like chat with me. I just think it's because, we like beer.
Yeah.
But as a member of the LGBTQ community, like that has become much more like welcoming, I think, and just like advertising their welcomeness. Like I've never actually gone into a brewery and been like, ooh, let's get out of here. But like
Yeah.
advertising it in a way that's like, yes, we want people of all sorts to come in here. And it kind of sends a message to other people who might, want to go there and don't want, it kind of keeps out the riffraff, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Keeps out the bearded guys like me.
No, not at
Yeah.
all. I just think that if a brewery is going to advertise that they are open to the LGBTQ community, like that just means that the beer world itself is more accepting.
Yeah. And I love going to breweries where there's a variety of people that, one, don't all look like me, which is how it was when I first started drinking. I remember, like, I went with my wife, who's Mexican American, and we went to Temperance, I think it was, in Evanston. And there was just this wide variety of people, African American, Hispanic, gay community. I'm like, this is really cool. And that was like one of the best times we had because it was such a wide variety of people there, just all, shooting the breeze with each other, enjoying a beer. That was one of the best times we've had.
Yeah, I do think that it is still dominated by white people or white appearing people. So when breweries like Funky Town and more come into existence, like I think, and I know that there's a lot of groups on Instagram. I can think of like 5 off the top of my head that are just like, we want to showcase more women and minorities in brewing and things like that. And I think that's great. I would really like to see even more representation, especially for people of color. I don't think that is happening quickly enough. You when you think of like who's opening breweries, there's definitely a type.
Yeah,
you can picture them, and that stereotype is true. Like it's just it just is. So
yeah. You mentioned earlier that you're a flight person when you go to a brewery or a tap room, and that was one of the questions I was going to ask you going through your feed. Why the flights instead of just having the regular beer? Are you ever afraid of like the first one you have in the flight or the second you wish, oh, I wish I had a full pint of this, but now I have to commit to these others?
No, it's just something that my partner and I do. We usually even share a flight so that if we want to get a pint later, we will.
All right.
So the flight means that I can try everything. I think that's kind of annoying for servers sometimes, but I do not understand. You can charge breweries. There's some like marketing thing, like you can charge so much for a flight and people will do it. They want to try everything. They're interested. And when breweries don't have a flight option, it just boggles my mind. Why would you not capitalize on that? I think that, and now there's even like fewer flight boards, like, oh, you can get 5-ounce pours, but they're going to cost you $4 or $5 each.
Yeah.
And like, I will do it. I will get $60 worth of beer just to try them all.
Yeah, I think that's for me where I'm not on team flight. I think I am. I'm afraid the first one I have, which usually you go from light to dark or lower alcohol to the higher alcohol, I'm going to want this. And all of a sudden, I've already drank 2 beers worth of flight, so I'm not going to be able to enjoy it.
Yeah. No, I not at all. Like even at Hop Butcher, all their beers kind of taste the same, right? You got
Yeah.
like one double, and
Yeah.
you've tried all of them. But I like to pick out the differences. I think that I have a established enough palate where I can say like, oh, I want this beer more than I want that beer. And sometimes there's just a huge variety, and I just end up having another flight so that I
Yeah.
can. I definitely do not need to drink a pint. It's almost like too much beer sometimes.
Okay.
Like I really like so Old Irving is one of my favorite breweries.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
just the one that's really closest to my house. And they offer like a 5-ounce and a 10-ounce option for a lot of things. And I like that. I think that that's a great idea, especially if you can charge people and they're going to pay for it.
Yeah. I think the one place, I don't know if they even still do it, Short Fuse, when they opened up, I mean, this was pre-pandemic where a lot of breweries had Groupons and all of that, but you'd go to Short Fuse for a flight, they would give you 8.
Yes,
And I think they
all
were
the time.
5-ounce pours, and I'm like, I'm going to be hammered if I finish this, so I can't enjoy one of them.
Does your wife like beer? You need to get her into the into beer, because that's like the. I know that if I go and have a beer with my partner, that we'll be able to drink whatever's put in front of us, and we don't ever waste beer. We'll drink it no matter what.
Yeah, she doesn't like hoppy beers. She'll like old school lagers or like a Goza, but typical like IPA beers or stouts, no, she wants nothing to do with it.
Right. We got to develop her palate so that you have a beer drinking partner there.
I know she's home in San Diego right now. It's like, can you bring me back something? And she's not even stopping anywhere.
Oh wow, yeah. San Diego's got a lot.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned Old Irving. Do you have a favorite tap room in the area? And if so, why does that one stand out to you?
My favorite tap room in the area is Illuminated Brewworks on Northwest Highway. First of all, their beers are super solid. They're really good. I really enjoy a smoothie sour. I'm not going to lie.
Yes.
And they do a fantastic, it's not even a beer. They do a fantastic version of a smoothie seltzer. And so it feels like when you go there, you're walking into Bizarro World. It's like another universe, and it's so strange. There's always like some random like gore erotica movie playing on the TV. It's very very like, and their bartender, the one who has been the most stalwart bartender in terms of when I go there, is this man named Rob, and he's great. And the beer, the ambiance, the gore, it's all paints like a picture of craziness. And I think that the people who go there are the beer drinkers themselves are also just really into the whole thing.
Okay.
And you can have dogs.
Oh, even better. I've never been to their tap room. I picked it up, some of their stuff at Bottles and Cans. Are they in, you said Northwest Highway, are they in Park Ridge?
No, they're in Chicago. It's just way, way out Edison Park.
All right.
And it's come a long way. It used to be kind of just dark and like dingy. And now, and they're also really super open and welcoming. There's like a pride flag, and I don't know. I think that it's maybe not for everybody, but I've never not loved every time I go there.
Yeah, I'm going to have to, one of my doctors for my back is in Park Ridge on Northwest Highway. So I'm going to just have to take Northwest Highway all the way and check that out next time I go for an appointment.
Yeah, they're one of their flagships is a lager called Trust. And even if you're not interested in anything else, Trust will always, be there and will be something that you'll enjoy drinking.
Cool. What tap room, in your opinion, has the best food?
I have been to many tap rooms. I really like Old Irving. I think that
Yeah.
they have really good food. More Brewing out in Villa Park has
Okay.
really nice food. I'm trying to think. Even if I'm doing a brewery crawl, which is my MO, I don't know. I haven't, there's no standout to me food like you were talking about Oso. Like if I ate there, I don't remember it. So
Mhm. No, I like Old Irving a lot. Like their cheese curds. I think every time I go, I have to get an order of the cheese curds there.
they also have this really delicious key lime pie.
Okay.
It's very tart, which
Mhm.
I really enjoy.
You mentioned ciders earlier. Are there any other types of alcoholic beverages you enjoy?
I don't have I like all types of like liquor and
Mhm.
liqueurs and wines. I don't have a palate for those types of things. So like
Okay.
I can drink a crappy wine and be like, this is delightful,
Yeah.
or I can,
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think that I prefer beer, but sometimes I really want a cocktail, and
Yeah.
I'll drink whatever is put in front of me.
Absolutely. I see you have a can of something there. What are you drinking now?
So when we first were talking about, this and having the timing of our recording year, I was like, well, do I really want a beer that early? I could, I get it. I'm on vacation too. I can have a beer. But I'm not. I'm drinking the Revolution Brewing Super Zero. It's a
Okay.
sparkling hop water. So it's delicious.
Mm-hmm.
It tastes like beer.
Yeah.
But I'm not getting drunk, and I'm also getting my you can hear my voice. I've been having some laryngeal issues.
Mhm.
And this is keeping me hydrated. So win-win.
Yeah, I like the hop waters a lot. I know locally Noon Whistle has a really good one as well.
I will have to check that out. I tried the hop water brand.
Yeah.
And I don't like that. I felt that I really like just plain seltzer water. And I thought that the hop water brand tasted just like seltzer water. Why?
Yeah.
Why
I mean, for the price with that, like I didn't get as much hops. It was just
right.
like drinking a LaCroix. I'm like, well, I'll just spend the money on the LaCroix and save $5 a 12-pack of it.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is like this is super hoppy. It's not like overly bitter or anything, but it's good. I highly recommend it. I'm gonna put Noon Whistle on my list because I would like to try that.
Yeah, I think they're even coming out with a few varieties now, but they just had one. It was a light blue can, beautiful artwork, big hop on it, 16-ounce cans. But like of all of the ones that I had, I would have to say that one was my favorite.
Yeah. Okay. Big blue can. Got it.
Yeah. On one of your posts, you had a thing at Omega Yeast. That's a really cool place. What can you tell people about that experience?
Well, in Chicago, there is a long-running women's beer drinking club called Barley's Angels, and it's one of those things that I learned about pre-pandemic, and then throughout the pandemic, I just obviously wasn't going anywhere, and then I saw a bunch of activities that they were doing that I really wanted to do and just didn't, and I was like, well, how can I pass up? It's like I go to these breweries anyway, so do I there's that kind of like, do I want to meet this like big group of women, go to a brewery I like, maybe drink too much, maybe have a little too much fun and then end up making a fool of myself? No. But at Omega, I was like, I can't pass this opportunity up.
Right down Cicero. How do you go? How do you say no to that?
It's super close to my house. And it's also just like, I don't know when I will have access like this. So I did meet up with those ladies and it was fantastic. We had a tour and we got to see, I was like very surprised. We were like walking around Wild Yeast. We were not masked. We were just like walking around the facility. We saw all of their like labs where they're actually creating yeast and different things. And we saw all of their production line. And then we saw like a refrigerator where they are like fermenting yeasts and like just storing them for different breweries around. And I thought it was super interesting because basically the people who started it were these two lawyers who were like, how can we be lawyers still, but make money in beer? And we can't open a tap room because there's no money in that. So they decided to start this yeast company. And, that's some privilege right there.
Yeah, I went there and I did the tour a couple of years ago because I talked to one of the owners, and that was like such a cool time. I'm like, the geek in me was like flipping out. I'm like, oh, this is so cool.
Right. I am like not interested in a brewery tour. Like I've been there, like I remember doing the Sprecher brewery tour in Milwaukee like 20 years ago, and it was awesome. And I was like, you learn for the first time about like hops and like barley and whatever, or malt. And I'm just over brewery tours. There's not much to it for me, but the yeast tour was really cool. And then the ladies also brought a number of Oktoberfest beers that we tried. Normally they're at a brewery, but they plied us with Oktoberfest and Fest beers, and it was super fun. I definitely am looking forward to meeting up with those ladies again in the future.
On your bio, you call yourself an enthusiast or a beer enthusiast, which I consider myself. It was weird. A couple weeks ago, I was talking with a friend of mine about the same thing. And what, in your opinion, is the difference between an enthusiast and an influencer?
Well, I will just speak from my experience because I don't have any other experience.
Yeah.
But my Instagram, I started it because I took a lot of photos of beers. It just in my past. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to start an Instagram where I'm going to have this archive, and I'm going to revisit this archive. And then because I met my partner in 2012, and I think that was when like the year things changed for me. So I decided to just post, and every 3 days I would post from the archive. Okay. And by the time I got done with my archive, I had over 3,000 followers, and I was like, well, this is fun, and I want to keep doing this. And so I kind of shifted my mindset from somebody who just loved beer, was a beer enthusiast, to the possibility of being more of an influencer. And honestly, I'm kind of straddling that line right now. I spent so much time on my Instagram, and that is when it grew. And right now it is like kind of just stagnant because I don't spend the time. If you want to be an influencer, if you want the followers, then you need to spend all of your time.
Yeah.
All of your time doing it. And I don't have the time. I kind of stopped having the interests a little bit. But I've also noticed that because I'm not posting every 3 days, like I don't have a regularity. When I don't do it, I miss it. So I like to create content. I like to think about it. I see so many people doing so many like really interesting things. So I don't consider myself an influencer, but I do like to reap the rewards of having people notice that like I'm there. Yeah. A number of companies have reached out to me and been like, will you showcase our beer? Will you drink our beer and showcase our beer? Will you use our product and showcase our product? And yes, absolutely. And I want to. Yeah. I think that is what makes it a community. So enthusiasm can lead to influencer, but if you want to be an influencer, it has to be like your full-time job. There's really just no in between. And I am in between, so I know.
Yeah, like there's just no way I could commit the time to do that. And I don't even know if I could. Like right now, I'm still off with my back. I have all the time in the world. It's like, I don't know if I want to be honest with you.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And I think you have this niche with the podcasting, and I think that that's super fun. I didn't expect anything.
Mhm.
And I think that you have to do it for the love of beer and the love of talking to people
Yeah.
and meeting people and not have any expectations. Like, I think that if I were in your shoes, I would be more disappointed that I didn't have more followers because you put so much effort into it
Yeah.
anyway. So I actually don't know how many followers you have, but if I didn't,
It's
if I did,
not that many.
if I put a lot of effort into it, I would
Mhm.
expect to reap the rewards. And I
Mhm.
have, I have aspirations.
Mhm.
We'll see. I
Yeah.
would love to get to a point where, people send me things all the time.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to put the time into it. I do have a full-time job and a
Yeah.
full-time life, and
I'll have to send you a glass or something.
oh yeah, for
Yeah.
sure, absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
I'll pay for that stuff too. I would. So yes, if anybody's listening to this and you want me to promote you, I absolutely will, and I will pay for it too.
Yes.
I will. Yeah, I want to do that. Like, now that I have like a bit of a following, then if people are going to see your product, like, I want to be able to help people that way. I think it's
Oh,
fun.
yeah. Before I let you go, do you have of all your favorite breweries in the Chicagoland area? I mean, we'll go suburbs as well. What would be in your mix pack, your Chicagoland mix pack?
Well, you kind of gave me this question before we started, so I actually designed mix packs.
Okay.
I designed a Chicago mix pack, and I designed a suburban mix pack. The
Okay.
Chicago mix pack is more, is a little bit more, has a little bit more oomph. So this is what I would include. I would include Illuminated Trust Lager. I would include Old Irving Brewery's Beezer, which is a hazy IPA. I also really, really like their Life's Blood, which is a dark lager.
Yeah.
And that would add, if I swap out the Life's Blood for the Beezer, that would add a little bit more versatility to it. I would put in Maplewood's Fat Pug, which is an oatmeal stout. Depending on if we consider Solemn Oath, well, I guess we would put in Solemn Oath's Still Life Snaggletooth Bandana, which is an IPA. Revolution's Eugene Porter or Sun Crusher, which is a hoppy wheat. Pipeworks Ninja versus Unicorns, which is a double IPA. Off Colors Dinosmores, which is an imperial stout, and Mars Brewery's Overhaze, which is a New England IPA.
Okay.
And maybe if we're, being saucy, we could add Blush, which is a cider by Eris.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Eris puts out. I love Eris and Right Bee. They make some great, locally. I'm a big fan of both of theirs.
Yes. And I haven't been to Second City Meadery. I'm not like a huge mead fan, but I think that if I really consider myself a true Chicago brewery enthusiast, I got to get to every single brewery. In this Illinois Brewing magazine, there are 56, a list of 56 Chicago breweries. I haven't been to 7 of them. So I'm pretty well traveled around the in the city proper. And then if I were doing a suburban mix pack, I would absolutely include more. Brewing, Microphone, Alter, Noon Whistle, Phase 3. If you haven't been to the new Phase 3 in Elmhurst, it's a go. Like, you have to get there. Sketchbook, Unane, which is in Niles, and Energy City, which is known for their smoothie sours, and it's just one of my faves. So I did not have any styles that I picked for the suburban mix pack, but those are the breweries I would include.
Yeah, I haven't had a lot of Energy City, but the couple that I've had I really like. So I want to do like more research on them. And also, think the Second City Meadery was really good. I talked to the owner over the summer, and like I sat there and like talked to him. That's a really cool little spot that's not far from you. The meads I thought were really good, so I bought a bottle to take home. This was, I think, in the summertime, so they had one that was like a coconutty thing going on that was like a tropical. That was really good. But yeah, definitely I would hit, Second City Meadery. But yeah, I think they're only open Thursday through Sunday.
Yeah, a lot of breweries have weird hours. Like we happened to get to Junior Fermenta down in the South Loop, and it was like, oh, we're here in the 1 hour that they're open every week.
Yeah.
I think I've tried Second City Meadery at a couple of brew fests that I've been to.
Yeah.
But I haven't actually been to their location.
Yeah, that was the same with me. I think at Friday Night Flights, I had their stuff. I'm like, oh, wow, these are really good. And I just happened to drive down past them all the time on Elston. And I love their logo. So I'm like, oh, I need to reach out and see if I could talk to these people. But yeah, really good stuff there.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I will give it a try. There are a few more. They're all in that that I haven't been to. They're all in that Broadway corridor, like Dry Hop.
Yeah.
I don't even know. There's some other ones. Corridor Provisions, or I don't know. And then the ones downtown, I haven't been there, and I have not been to the new. There's that one that opened in that theater. What are they talking about?
Yeah, that one looks really good too. I have not been there yet myself. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see some of these actually, but how often do you go downtown, and who wants to spend time in that Broadway corridor? It's like
it's parking's not easy. It's been a couple of years since I've been to Dry Hop, and I know when they started, and this was a long time ago, they would have a deal where you could get a full growler for $6 on Saturdays only. So you had to fight the Broadway traffic, pay a ton of money to park just to save a couple bucks on a growler. But I did it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that sounds fun. There's just a few that I just, never have access to. So
yeah. Well, Karen, I appreciate so much you coming on. Nice to meet you via screen instead of Instagram. Can you tell people where they could find you?
Yeah, so I physically am at a Chicago brewery. You can find me there, probably illuminated. And on the internet, I am at allthebeer_more_beer on Instagram. That is also my handle for Untapped. And that is also my email, Karen at allthebeermorebeer.com, no underscore. Yeah, thank you so much, Dave. This has been so much fun.
Yeah, awesome. I will see you down the road, and I'll include the links in the show notes. So if you're driving listening to this, just hit the show notes and then you can find out where to reach Karen. Karen, thanks you again. I will talk to you down the road.
All right. Take care. Thanks so much.
All right. I want to thank again Karen Sheehan for coming on and talking about herself. That was a lot of fun. Thank you again, Karen. The beer that I'm going to have now, the beer that's in front of me, I wanted to have one that we talked about on the show, and we recorded this on the 27th of December. So as I'm recording this, it's still wet December. So I'm having Ninja versus Unicorn. This is a double IPA from Pipeworks. This checks in at 8%. It's been around a while. I don't know, maybe 9 years, 8 years, 10 years, somewhere around there. It's no Johnny come lately. Ninja versus Unicorn's been around for a while. It's a classic double IPA, so let's bust open the Ninja versus Unicorn. Really nice color. It's not a hazy, so it's a nice clear color, good amber. The foam is good. You get a good couple of fingers of foam. Smells really good. I don't think I've had this one in a year or so. It's been a while. So, no, it smells fantastic. Yeah, that's good. Get The hops are there. I'm almost getting some like melon with the hops. It's balanced with the sweetness of the malt. I think this is really good. I'm a big fan of this, and I'll have to, come February, drink some more of these because it's been a while. I'm trying to look on the can to see when this was canned by, and this is pretty fresh. So this was canned on the 11th of December. I picked it up at my grocery store, Mariano's, after I talked to Karen. It's a really good beer. So if you're in the Chicagoland area, check out Pipeworks. If you go to their website, it's pretty sparse, but they do distribute to other states besides Illinois, so you could check that out and see if it's available near you. They had maybe 10, 15 different states that you could pick up Pipeworks at. So this is probably their most popular one, the one that I see most of. So if you're around, you haven't had Ninja versus Unicorn in a while, by all means, throw this one in the cart. I think it's really good. Oh, it's been a while, but here is your Jagoff of the Week. A woman in Tampa, Florida, she's pursuing a class action lawsuit against the Hershey Company. She's saying they were misleading in the packaging of the Reese's Peanut Butter Pumpkins. Now, the woman's name is Cynthia Kelly. She says she bought a pack for $4.49 at Aldi, but she was upset that the actual product did not resemble the image on the packaging. Now, I guess the packaging had like the eyes, nose, and mouth on a jack-o'-lantern, but when she opened up the package, it was just a regular peanut butter cup shaped like a pumpkin. She was very upset, saying that this is materially misleading and claiming that numerous consumers were tricked. And there were Reddit complaints that Reese's lied to me. And it's just absurd. But here's the best part. She says she wouldn't have purchased the pumpkins if she knew they did not have the detailed carvings of the mouth and eyes that was on the label. And she's suing for $5 million over a $4.49 pack of peanut butter pumpkins. One, you went to fucking Aldi. Aldi not only will give you your money back, they'll also replace the product. So Cindy, Toots, listen, you could have had 2 packages of these for free, but now you're suing for $5 million because the pumpkins didn't have the... Cynthia Kelly, you're a Jagoff. All right, that's going to wrap things up for this episode of Beer in Front. I thank you very much for listening. I want to thank Karen Sheehan from All the Beer, More Beer again for coming on to talk this week. Have a great week, everyone. I will see you next week. And remember, sometimes the beer in front of you is the best one yet.